Solana phones. Remember those things? They were all the rage. They're on fire. Well, can they survive the bear market? We're going to break it down. This is Around the Blockchain. Thank you for joining, everybody. Make sure you go ahead and hit that like button because we got 4 phenomenal guests, and we're going to go and just get it started because this is such an action-packed show. We're going to go on the green square. We have Cassius Cuvee holding it down, and he just dropped another song. You got to follow him on all his socials. Cassius, how are you doing today?
Man, I'm feeling good, DZ. Great to be here. Appreciate you guys having me on again.
Always a good time. And then we have Corey, Costa, and man, the Hex community loved your takes last time. I don't know, last time I had some tweets go that viral. Corey, how are you doing? Are they still championing you as the Mr. Hexagon?
I'm doing well. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for having me. It was definitely, they were both very viral tweets, so I'm glad. And yeah, I'm trying my best to be a community ambassador. So thanks again for having me on, DZ.
Always a good time. He's still rocking the colors, folks. Also on today, we have Firoz. Firoz, always a great time. Firoz, you know what? I'm taking the hat off for the rest of the show. How are you doing today?
I'm doing good, DZ. I'm doing good. Great to be here. Thanks for having me on.
Always a good time. And then last but not least, the king of metaphors. Looks like he just got a fresh edge up. He got them ears lowered. I'm talking about Cowboys of Crypto, of course. Cowboys, how are you doing?
I'm ready to throw a bull, eat beans with a knife, and I'm ready for ATB.
He's ready to lasso those hot takes, folks. All right, well, let's first start with Coinbase. I just want to share this headline because it kind of sums up what is happening with Coinbase's new L2. It is Base. Well, Coinbase's much-hyped new blockchain draws a modest $10 million of inflows on launch day. You see it's already about 160. So before launch, they'd brought in about 150 million. People found the dev address, poured in funds, and then most of them went for the bald meme coin. There's a little frenzy of activity. Well, today was the first official launch day of Base. They only pulled in $10 million. Of the 10 million, about 5 million was ETH, then 2.3 in USDC, then the other 2 million, just some remaining alts there. The average wallet thought to be, a little bit larger, only $500 to $1,000 for the average wallet. The largest whale of that 150 million, they poured in $17 million into Base, Coinbase's L2 there. So if they wanted to launch with the bang, they launched with a little bit more. It was more of a whimper, I would say. Now, Corey, I'm gonna talk L2s. I know where your mind's originally gonna go, but maybe we won't mention that other coin. But besides Polygon, and let's just say Hex, in case you wanted to say Hex. Besides Polygon, maybe Hex, can Base become the top L2 for Ethereum? Well, Coinbase's connections and Brian Armstrong, kind of at the helm here. Can they be the top 2, beating Aptos and some of these other, near some of these other competing chains, L2s?
I think it really depends on so many different factors, specifically, I guess you could say, with the regulatory atmosphere surrounding Coinbase in the future. I also think I think a lot of people right now look at Coinbase as one of the I guess you could say the saviors of crypto in America, because it's one of the last bastions where Americans can actually trade and actually participate in cryptocurrency within this regulatory uncertainty regarding the landscape. So I think that moving forward, I do think that Base can be a predominant layer 2 on Ethereum just by Coinbase growing as a result. So, and if you look at Coinbase, for example, in America, it would make logical sense that Base would continue to grow alongside Coinbase. Alongside Coinbase. But right now, it doesn't surprise me that there is a slump right now, given the fact that hype cycles in bear markets do not last very long. They only last for a couple of weeks to a month when something releases, and then it dies down, and then the bull market takes over, and then the actual project, if it has longevity, if it has utility, if it has community, then it grows. But aside from that, I see it can be a predominant layer 2 on Ethereum, but it's also based on based on the success of Coinbase thereof.
All right. Well, Cassius, about name recognition, about branding in crypto, besides maybe crypto.com, maybe FTX for the wrong reasons. There's really no bigger brand than Coinbase, and Base is in the name. Retail, I hate to say, that might actually move the needle, but for retail, like Coinbase, Base, oh, okay, yeah, kind of makes sense there. Will the Coinbase name be enough to push this into a top L2?
Top L2, there's not that many top L2s. So, I could say a top 10 L2. Yes. I mean, Coinbase's brand recognition. I talk to, when I say, non-crypto native folks, I talk to them every day. Somebody asked me about some crypto every day. Just a friend I hadn't talked to in 2 years called me up yesterday. And they know Coinbase, just as simple as that. So, like you say, retail buyers, retail investors, they're going to know that Coinbase is a name they recognize. Now, whether or not they know what the L2 of Coinbase is, that's kind of a whole different thing. But it's not just the name. I think branding's important, but like Coinbase is also a publicly traded company, on the NASDAQ. And I think that they actually have some weight behind them. They actually have like money behind them, actually have power behind them. They actually might win an SEC lawsuit. So all of those things would be positive sentiments for Base itself, simply because it was associated with Coinbase.
All right. And we have a super sub. Let's see. Remington Perrault just became a member for his 4th month. He is a real one. Smash the F and like mitten. Do it now or else. If you are a super sub, your name pops up green. A lot easier to see. Now, Cowboy, kind of, this is a little bit of mind reading, but if anyone could read a mind, it's definitely you. Do you think Base is working with regulators, making sure they're checking the right boxes, not running unless they say they can run, not walking unless they say they can walk. In fact, standing still if the SEC wants them to stand still? Or do you think they're working despite the regulators and just trying to make a good product for their customers?
Look, Coinbase, they're under extreme scrutiny for regulation. The SEC knows if they shake it twice in the bathroom. That's how much scrutiny they are under. The fact of the matter is, when we look at Coinbase's leadership, I see at least 2 things. Number one is a plan. 7 years ago, Brian Armstrong set past this plan. He said, look, for crypto adoption, you need protocols. Think like Bitcoin. Second phase, you need infrastructure. And that's where they come in, like the exchanges, on-ramps, off-ramps. Third is consumer interface. Think like the wallets like MetaMask. But this 4th place, right? This 4th phase is where they're introducing Base. And it's the introduction of dApps, things that really will change people's lives for the better. You can't see your life without it. And the fact of the matter is that we need to just not look at just like these individual coins or these individual decentralized applications. John Bogle said that if you're looking for a needle in the haystack, don't buy the needle, just buy the whole haystack. And when you're looking at Base, you could take a look. I mean, they don't have a coin, but you could take a look at the whole infrastructure. Oh, this has legs to it. This has momentum. And I want to bring up the second thing, which is a track record. Okay, Apple launched its iMac in 1998 and its iPhone in 2007. Disney launched its first movie in 1937 and its theme park in 1995. And Coinbase launched their exchange in 2012 and their blockchain today, this year at 2023. Look, you don't bet against the juggernauts. They have a lot of momentum. They have a lot of reach. They have a lot of market. And it's better to be roughly right than precisely wrong.
All right, and we had a question in the chat, Cowboys. Is Cowboys DZ's cousin? Am I going to see you at Thanksgiving?
He's not my cousin, but he's definitely my brother.
All right, I love it. Brother from another mother. All right, now, Firoz, let me pull up the top layer 2 ecosystem. This is on CoinGecko. This is going off. I said apt earlier. I meant opt. We have Polygon coming in. Then we have Mantle, Arbitrum, Optimism, IMX, Loopring, Scale, Cartesi. It just keeps going on and on and on and on and on and on. And now we have Base. Question, are there too many L2s or are there never enough?
Well, there's never enough because ultimately you're going to have to pump something at some point once we get into the next bull cycle, in all honesty. But no, I mean...
Too honest.
Let's be honest, actually. The other thing is, if you look at it, is really a lot of these L2s are building on top of Ethereum. They're just scaling solutions more than anything else in order to, fill the gap where Ethereum isn't quite hitting, quite isn't sort of cutting it. So are there too many L2s? Yeah, sure, there are lots of L2s, but all of these have opportunities. They present avenues of sort of growth. They present avenues of being able to make money. They present avenues where if you're bold and you create a meme, then you could pretty much go to the moon at some point. So there's those things when you look at it. But if you kind of look at it, one of the things I would say is with all these L2s, what problem are they all trying to solve? Everyone's trying to solve scaling for Ethereum, from what I see, right? Then what value proposition is it? They're all coming out with the same value proposition at the same time. And the only thing that I tend to see with all these L2s half the time is that it's the market size, right? Each time a new L2 comes out, you get a bit of that market sort of moving over, hoping to make a couple of quick returns early on. But I think Cassius mentioned it earlier before, it's with all these L2s at the moment, you're seeing a majority of these aren't really in the top 10 yet. And actually, if you kind of go back into the previous bull cycles that we've seen, usually it is the infrastructure plays, like the solid infrastructure plays that have credibility, that have a community behind it, that have, like Cowboys of Crypto said, a juggernaut behind it as well at the same time. Those are the ones that do tend to do well. They do tend to be a safe bet. And I'm not saying they're going to be your next 100x, but they'll certainly give you some decent return if you kind of have a bit of conviction.
All right. And it looks like Coinbase might have some conviction on this. I want to share it. Now, this is just the first day. Volume is probably going to go a lot lower. But Base generated almost $250,000 in fees just yesterday. This is going to be $78 million every single year that Coinbase is generating off their L2. Now, that's just the fees that they get to collect. What they do with those fees, I'm not sure. Probably buried in a press release somewhere.
But DZ, one thing that I will add, though, even though they had the official launch today, people were still migrating over Ethereum way before. Actually, in fact, if we kind of go back over the last couple of weeks, we've seen most of the sort of super gains that people have been making when they've jumped in early on. I think this is obviously just more of a show and tell piece, but we've already been on Base for a while.
Yeah, plus one for our bald brothers that got some games off that meme coin there. All right, well, let's talk about the Utes migration. This Utes is the migration of blow to the Polygon ecosystem. Well, there's a lot of news going on. We're going to talk about dust price as well. I'm going to pull up a chart at one point. But Utes is an OG Solana project. They announced that they're going to be migrating to Polygon back in April. Well, now they just announced, all right, well, we're actually holding off on that. We're not moving to Polygon. Now we're going back to Ethereum along with DeGod. So DeGod's moved to Ethereum. Now they're going to follow them as well. Here's the kicker, though. Well, Polygon gave Frank DeGod's and the DeGod's Utes team, they gave them $3 million to come over to Polygon. And now they're saying, yeah, well, never mind. Well, it turns out they are going to pay back the $3 million. Polygon is actually going to use $1 of the million of the 3 there to boost their ecosystem of builders and creators there. And according to Magic Eden, before the migration, Magic Eden is the top Solana NFT marketplace. So if you think of Solana NFT sale, it's going to be there. 70% of the sales were just made up of DeGods and Utes, just those 2 projects. Migration is also coinciding with the season 3 announcement there. Now, I did say I want to pull up Dust. Dust token just had a whale dump 200 ETH. This is my understanding. And if we look at the price chart, folks, it is not going to look good, especially if you look at the 7-day. Look at that steep drop off, just kind of hanging out that $2.50 range, and then plummeted really close to $1.50 right there. Well, back to the NFT project. Cassius, we have them all over the place, right? They started Solana, now they're going to Polygon, now they're going to Solana, going to ETH. Are they coming off as promiscuous? They're jumping from chain to chain to chain with nary even a note by the bedside. What are your thoughts on them migrating so frequently?
I mean, every project has the right to do whatever they want. In fact, I wish some projects would migrate off Ethereum, to be honest with you. So, I mean, that's their prerogative. If their community supports them, I mean, I think it would be wise to make sure they're checking in with their community before they do something like that. But, like you also said, is the business of it. If someone gave them $3 million, you got to get that square as well. And what are they getting for moving? So it kind of depends on the specific circumstances of the deals and why they're changing from chain to chain. But overall, I actually like that this highlights that, because I believe for mass adoption, we're going to have chains that, basically work and that people think are going to be the future because they work. And I think that just because something started off on a blockchain early and it turns out that that's not the best protocol for that dApp or that, that project, they should be able to move over to one that works. And, if this is bringing attention to that, that's a possibility. It might make other folks look around and say, oh, well, just because we did something this way, but there's a better option over here, they're not going to be afraid to move over there. And so, I'm all for it. Just for, if anything else, the larger viewpoint of being able to change chains, because I just don't necessarily think that the one you started on is necessarily going to be the one that you want to be on 5 years from now.
I think it's a good point. Yeah, evolve with the times, otherwise you get left behind. Now, Corey, we're migrating, we're leaving chains. Now you got Polygon. Some are saying this is a massive L for Polygon. Some are saying it's a W. What are your thoughts on the Polygon side? I mean, is this spelling the beginning of the end, or is this just the smallest of speed bumps?
No, I think this is a small speed bump. I think even though this is a prominent NFT project, I think that when you look at a project like Utes, I think that Polygon has a large enough ecosystem and a large enough developer base, a large enough community that it would survive on its own without this NFT project. I think that I think the biggest issue would be if the layer 2 or a sidechain or a layer 1 has one project, let's say like Utes, that's keeping it alive. Well, that would basically be an issue in itself, because that would deem the fact that the chain itself is not going to perpetuate a sense of longevity because it's reliant on one project. So I don't necessarily think that this is a bad thing, and I don't necessarily see that this is a nail in the coffin for Polygon. I think Polygon is a premier chain. I don't see it going anywhere, and I think this may be just a tiny slump. And if we look at cryptocurrency news, the market moves so fast and news moves so fast that, in my opinion, this will probably be forgotten about by the end of the month. This market moves way too quickly surrounding news and innovation that this will be in the limelight or highlighted in the news in the Polygon ecosystem for much longer. So I don't see it as a big deal.
Yeah, hype cycles usually die down, kind of to your point. I'm trying to think last long hype cycle. We've talked about it on the show before. The AI hype cycle kind of went for a decent while. Then Richard Hart twerking, rage marketing. That stuck around for at least a month there. All right, now, Firoz, kind of want to ask you about order depths, liquidity books. I feel like you're the perfect person for this question. So here's this is Wale.swoosh. You know, this is not confirmed by myself. I haven't gone to Etherscan, but the wallet that dumped 200 ETH worth of dust just a few minutes prior does not appear to be related with the wallet that dumped DGOTs. Someone dumped 100 DGOTs. But I want to talk about this. If we just pull up that price chart one more time, I want to highlight $2.40, close to $2.50, and then dropped a crazy scam wick down to $1.40, $1.50 there. Only 200 ETH moved the price that far. But what are your thoughts on that? Is that par for the course? Is that shockingly, a strong sell signal? Or should it have gone to 2 cents? And, that's actually a robust order book. What are your thoughts on 200 ETH dumping the price that hard?
Look, I mean, the thing is here is you don't. Okay, I am going to compare it back to memes here, right? Because I see this being no different in terms of the chart action in itself, right? Because every day you see people getting in very early on, right? They've dumped 200 ETH. Maybe one of the main reasons could well be is that we're coming up to a bad performing month historically. It could be that they're just planning to capitalize on that moment as well, right? Because a lot of people may be forward thinking. You only need to look at the charts we see all over Twitter. There's this chart going around currently at the moment saying it's all planned. BTC is planning to go higher. We're in pre-bull, first bull, then the last bull before it goes everywhere. So a lot of these things, and even if you look at the sort of historical charts previously in terms of how Bitcoin has been performing, usually coming into August and September, it's a bad performing month. And naturally, when we see Bitcoin performing low, all the other altcoins perform even worse. So potentially they could just be trading off on that. But again, this is what decentralization gives us at the end of the day. They've gone on there straight on the DEX, dumped all their sort of 200 weeks, and again, that's a lot to dump on a project as well. But now what's going to happen now is we need to have a look, see exactly how the community holds up. Do they then start panicking, or do some people then have, like we said before, conviction? Do we then start jumping in and buying up the dip, so to speak? But then sometimes, how much of the dip do you buy before you go broke at the same time?
And it keeps dipping and it keeps dipping. You're like, it'll stop.
Exactly.
Well, if we just look at, this is the Twitter or the X algorithm, this is just not scientific, just maybe indicative of where the market's at. The top reply looks like they're buying the dip there. So even for the culture, they did 0.69 there. So shout out to Fungibles. Good job, Fungibles. Doing it for the culture. All right, last question on this topic. Cowboys, I got you putting on your mind meld hat once again. Your Professor X, Cerebus, I think it is. Why do you think they left Polygon, if you had to guess?
First of all, it's Cerebro. Okay, Cerebro is
all right. Honestly, you're getting like 3 points out the gate.
Okay, so look, you leave because it's bad, or you leave because it could be better. This is a fact of life. So first principles would be that they're leaving for potential growth. Growth potential is what they want. Okay, but the fact of the matter is that crypto is a dirty brothel, and promiscuity and the degenerate spirit is all over the place. It's rampant. Okay, so everyone is out for their own bag. So this is the first things we got to think of. So when the person in charge, Frank, right, when they're going into changing from one chain to another chain or whatever, the first thing we got to think of is he's thinking about growth potential. He's trying to make money with his brand or whatever. And we have a few things to weigh in there, right? Like, why didn't you go to Bitcoin? Why didn't you go to Cardano? And why ETH? Well, I would probably say something like volume in 24-hour volume trade or something like that, or active addresses, active users. And Ethereum seems to strike that middle ground there. It's not, the most in all categories, it's not just slam dunk, but I think they would assume that. The fact of the matter is, you could spin this in two ways, a positive or negative spin, right? The positive spin would be they have the ability to adjust. Like if you look at this move, like changing from chain to chain, we have the ability to adjust very quickly, to easily pivot. And we're promoting our community first narrative. We're going to have a bigger community because we meld with DeGods or whatever. Or you could look at it with a negative spin, short-term planning, erratic behavior, no commitment, and it's just a cash grab. I think it's a mixture of both. If I were to bet on one side or the other, I would bet that they are trying to make money and make more growth happen. And so that's where I'm at. Like, we have to think about these things first. There is no commitment here in crypto. Everyone is out for their own bag. So the people who are upset, they're upset because they're losing money in this trade. It's bad for them, but they are looking for further growth potential. That's why we have to always consistently be ahead of the game and try to predict where is the further or the most potential growth. And that's where we need to invest our money in.
And Ruhon, I think his name is, or Frank DeGods, more people know. He's still a young guy. Still learning, He looks 12. Looks like a 12-year-old Fortnite pro. But no, I love Frank DeGods, Utes, everything they're doing. I think they're, really, really pushing the NFT space forward. All right, well, speaking of, at least trying to push the space forward, we have the Solana phone. We're going to switch gears here. The Solana phone. Remember that thing? Well, it launched. It's out. It's released. No one bought it, though. Well, maybe a few. Looks like it is lagging pretty far behind. Demand just isn't there. They launched at $1,000. Well, they just slashed the price to $599, just dropped it 40%. I'd hate to be the guy that bought it for $1,000 on Monday, because there is someone that bought it for $1,000. Feel bad for that one. Let's hit the like button for that one. Pour one out for him. All right, that's for the guy. What I do for content here. Well, this phone is unique, and because we can kind of track what is happening with the Solana phone. When you activate the phone, that creates an on-chain event. We can actually look and then count. And this is a rough estimate. We don't know how many people bought the phone, then just sat on it or put it in a closet. But this is the Saga. It's called the Saga Genesis. The unique owners is out there. It is 2,200. Let me just read this. The dashboard offers comprehension visual. The metric shows the mint transactions, which should correspond to the number of activated devices. So this is the number of devices that have been activated. I did a little bit of math, just quick back of the napkin math. Around 15 to 20 people every single day. So you got about a dozen or two that are buying this phone daily. A lot different than what the iPhone 14 launch is going to look at. So it only comes out, like I said, a little more than a dozen there. So it's not great. Cassius, no one really wanted to buy this phone. There's only like 15 people buying this daily. What to you is the number one reason this phone's a stinker?
Oh, man. I think a lot of people just don't trust the Solana chain that much, or that they're going to be that great at making a physical hardware device. I mean, one day this might be an antique that's worth money, like an old NFT or something on Solana, one of the first generation NFTs. I don't know if it's ever really going to get legs. I was very skeptical of it. I know that people who were bullish on Solana were bullish on the fact that the phone was coming out, was going to help drive that narrative of the blockchain, of adoption, of this particular protocol taking off. But only 2,200? Ouch. I think it's a bad look, because I don't think it's neutral. I mean, I think it's actually a bad look for all the people who had high hopes for it being a good look. So, I don't know. I mean, it's not all their fault. I mean, you run into a bear market. You know what I mean? There's no specific hype around any project so much, especially something that's trying to be different as having a real world device. I mean, I commend them for trying that. It's just not something I ever really trusted, especially when you consider how much people love their current smartphones, right? Yeah. There's not that many other current smartphones, and people seem to be pretty strong about it. When we talk about iPhone versus Android, that's a pretty tough battle right there. So imagine the third party trying to come in. I don't know who their fan base is supposed to really be.
Flashmax Super Sub, +1 for the name, Sagagenesis. Yeah, I think they knew exactly what they're doing right there. All right, let's see. We got another couple people in there. All right, well, Corey, and I want to ask you about, there's a lot of bad news with Solana. They kind of shrug it off, the downtimes. FTX obviously pushed the price down pretty hard, but how much of that was just FTX market dumping? I don't know. Who knows? But my question here is, let's just say, the sales are out, the data's out, it's not looking good. A lot of people are now starting to talk about it. Let's just say Solana comes forward tomorrow and says, guys, we're going to discontinue the phone. We're no longer doing the phone. It was a mistake. Will that affect Solana's price?
I think very short term, yes. I think that news in a bear market, especially negative news, does affect a particular cryptocurrency in regards to its token valuation. So in the short term, I do believe that this being acknowledged as a failure will absolutely affect the Solana price. Depending on how much it will affect the price, I don't know. But I do believe that short term, it would affect the price. However, I think that when you look at Solana, unfortunately, like you said before, there's a lot of baggage thereof, and you have if they discontinue their phone, it constantly going down. We have what happened with FTX, like you highlighted. I think that right now, when you look at this particular community, and we're seeing like you said before, different projects migrating off Solana and going to like Ethereum, for example. Well, it looks like Solana right now is in a bit of a slump. Do I think that this phone being discontinued will have a long-term effect on Solana? Probably not. You went into basically a monopolistic enterprise anyway between Android and iPhone. If you really think it was going to succeed, I can literally just access Web3 with my iPhone or Android if I wanted to. So I don't think that this will have any long-term hard impact on Solana. But in the short term, and when I say short term, I mean like the really short term, like not a long, maybe a month or so. I do think it may have a negative impact on Solana because it's just another piece of bad news that affects the chain.
All right. If we look at Solana's all-time price chart, it's been all over the place. We're talking about it. The price did dump pretty hard after FTX. Here you can see the November high. It passed the DZ metric where it put in a second all-time high. Solana was a very strange one because the first bull run put it up to around 40. And then the second one put it up above $250, outgaining almost everybody. But we are up 1.8% on the day, coming in right around $25. All right, now, Firoz, is price reduction a utility of Solana? I'm just kidding. Real question here. What blockchain would have the killer phone? If you had to choose one, I don't think it's Namecoin or Bitcoin. What blockchain is going to have that top tier phone everyone needs?
Oh, God. You know what? We were talking about, you see, the thing you need to think about is Solana released the phone, right? But we've got massive players out there already. You've got Samsung, you've got Google, you've got Motorola. I mean, those guys are pretty much leading the space when it comes to Android phones, right? And the interesting part is if you kind of have a look at all of these phones, they all share a similar app store, the Android app store. So from there, you can get most of the wallets from all the popular blockchains that you want to trade on, right? So you already have that security there, as long as you're smart with OPSEC and you can, cover your seed phrase and make sure that you haven't got it written down somewhere where everyone can see, you're generally okay with those Android phones. So, when we start looking at, does somebody else want to then come into this space? Okay, fine. I would say, the large players in this space, Coinbase, I wouldn't be surprised if Coinbase at some point decided to venture into the smartphone market and say, you know what, we're going to release a smartphone. But in all honesty, and I think somebody mentioned it earlier here, is these smartphones, when they do come out, they're going to be coming out pretty much at the height of the next bull cycle, right? Because otherwise, who's going to want to jump on? And I certainly wouldn't want to give up my iPhone to go and buy a phone from Coinbase or from any other leading blockchain because it provides no value add to me. Because all you're going to be doing is you're repackaging an Android operating system onto your own branded hardware, which you've also bought from somewhere else. So the only thing you're going to be putting in there really is going to be a dedicated wallet with a dedicated way of storing your seed phrase and keys. But again, I keep a lot of my stuff that I want, long term on a ledger. So I don't really care too much about what that phone's going to do for me. And the same goes with, I use MetaMask and I keep, those on a soft wallet for things that I want to trade day in, day out. So again, I just don't see the value proposition here. But if I was going to, put my money down, I'd bet on somebody that has a very big, large chest behind them.
Okay, war chest is going to be yeah, I would agree because you're probably going to have to operate at a loss for several quarters, if not years. I think B has the top comment. More Nextels were sold this month than this garbage. I don't. Is it garbage? I haven't used it myself. I don't want to offer an opinion on it. All right, Cowboys of Crypto. Final question. It's an easy one. 3 words for you. Is Solana dead?
No, it's worse. It's the living dead. Okay?
Oh,
It's the living. It's a zombie. It's a ghoul, and we need to stab it in its head. That's right. Okay, listen. I think I read on the article there was 2,000 sales of this phone. It's just ridiculous because SBF can sell more pictures of his feet than they can sell phones. This is insane. We can't possibly think that this was a good idea. Do you think it's a good idea to buy creme brulee at a gas station? No. Why? Because it's a gas station. Pump gas. Don't buy creme brulee. And so, these layer 1 blockchains or these scam coins, they're selling out here. They're selling phones. Next thing you know, they're selling DVDs and cassette players. This is not the place to buy phones. When you step into the phone arena, you got to understand that they are going up against major juggernauts. You're going up against Apple and Samsung. If in your first fight, you don't challenge Brock Lesnar to the fight. In your first basketball game, you don't challenge LeBron James. And you don't challenge Apple or Samsung here. And that's what they're doing. And they're doing it with 2 broken legs because obviously we know about the whole SBF thing. So yeah, of course this is not going anywhere. And matter of fact, I see all these YouTubers, and this really gets me heated up because these famous YouTubers out here shilling this crap coin wherever. And I already know I bought it. We all bought it. We all bought Solana because we all bought the lie because all these people are shilling this stuff. And of course, we should be feeling somewhat betrayed. But here's the thing, okay? The house is already burnt down. Don't keep your hand in the fire holding on to this stupid phone. Like we should be dumb. Or we should call ourselves dumb because SBF and this FTX and all this stuff, this drop in price and value, and they're dropping their price for what? Right? Firoz said it for what? The UI, a terrible UI UX. You could do the same things on your regular phone. Like there's no reason to get this phone, or really, in my opinion, any other phone coming out from a crypto company. Stick to the main ones. All that stuff has their own or applications on it too. That any way that you could access anything in crypto. You don't need a particular phone. Just stick to the main ones and steer clear from Solana.
2 questions. You don't trust gas station creme brulee. Do you trust a gas station hot dog?
No, but gas station tacos are pretty good.
And Carolina has an idea of when you last bought Solana. Did you buy the top?
Everything is the top from here. So yeah, we all lost money from Solana.
All right. Great stuff there. And I think that's all we have. And Cerebrus pushed Cowboys of Crypto over the edge. I think maybe because it starts with the letter C. I don't know how he did it. I will self-flagellate myself for not remembering Charles's nifty helmet's name. So I am ashamed by that. All right, we do have a special appearance by AJ. AJ writes crypto. You want to wave to the ATB audience right before we kick it to Cowboys of Crypto, and then we're gonna go ahead and wrap it up.
Good job, Cowboy. You did it, man.
That seems so wholesome. All right, Cowboys of Crypto, feel free, leave us with some parting thoughts. That's all we got time for. You took it home, buddy.
It's Cerebro. Okay, Cerebrus is the 3-headed dog. But I'm gonna quote Professor X in the movie Logan and he's talking about ATB. He says, Logan, this is what life looks like. A home, people who love each other, safe place. You should take a moment and feel it. Thanks, ATB. Subscribe to everyone on the channel. I love you guys. Thank you so much.
All right. And Gene Gray, you should have gone with Logan. That's all we got. Until next time, DZ out.